I, 23F, found my partner's 25 meters genital wart medication. How do I approach him about this? Update 1. So I confronted my partner about it. I asked him what the medication was for. He said, with no hesitation, he found a wart, and I asked where. With no hesitation again, he said on his leg. He also said that if it was for something dodgy, why would he leave it lying around? While I agree with what he's said, the medication that I found, I can't find anything about it being used for anything other than genital warts. I've googled leg wart treatments and there is nothing about wartican being used for anything but genital warts. Are there any doctors or anything that can ease my conscience? I feel like I'm driving myself mad. I've been losing sleep and obsessing over this. I am so tired. He wasn't nasty about it and seemed genuine. Am I being paranoid? I, 23F, have found my partner's 25 meters genital wart medication. We have been together 5 years. I was tested over a year ago and tested positive for chlamydia. I was having bleeding between my periods for a few years that wasn't going away until I started having more symptoms, got tested and got it treated. I told him straight away. He didn't get tested but took meds for it. I have found medication for genital warts and my heart has sunk. I don't know how to approach him about this or if this is a big deal. We haven't had sex for a month or so, which I was getting down about, but now I know why. Should he have told me? I have been doing research and found that if he has HPV, which I have no idea because he hasn't said anything about it, it could be really dangerous to me. I'm feeling a little conflicted right now. I do not have or ever had genital warts. If the reason he's not said anything because embarrassed to tell me, would that be forgivable? Has he cheated? Has he possibly put my health at risk? How would you guys approach him about it? What are your thoughts? What would you do in my situation? Any advice on approaching my partner about this would be great. Thanks in advance. Too long didn't read. I have found my pattern of 5 years genital warts medication and I'm not sure how to approach him about it. You've been together 5 years but you had chlamydia a year ago. Can you explain the math to me? He has warts down there now. Don't do it with him ever again. I don't understand how the wart medication is more concerning than having chlamydia a year ago. How was the chlamydia contracted? This is 100% unforgivable in my book. To knowingly have something uncurable and not let your partner know over multiple years so they could make an informed decision. Regardless of how he got them, if he knows he has them, which he does, BC he has meds, he is putting your health at risk. Just because you don't have them now doesn't mean you don't have them. They can remain dormant for years. If it were me, I would consider it to be unforgivable. I'm sorry this happened to you and good luck. Definitely get tested ASAP. Even if you don't show symptoms, it's better safe than sorry. After that, definitely ask him how long he's known he's had them and why he didn't tell you right away. Honestly, just from the info you've given, it sounds like he's been cheating on you. Girl, he playing you like a fiddle. Move on while you're young, and hopefully don't have children with him. He's gonna come home with something worse one day. Seems like there is some manipulating going on here. My girlfriend is sexist. Me, 27 meters, and my girlfriend, 26F, have been together for almost a year now, but recently something about her worldview has started to cause conflict. My girlfriend was raised in an extremely religiously conservative family and community with strict gender roles. As a teenager and an adult, she got away from it, moved on and evolved her perspective. The problem is, when it comes to issues of gender, it became uneven. What I mean by that is she doesn't apply traditional gender roles to men, really at all, and is incredibly progressive in that sense, but she still applies strong gender roles to women. She doesn't openly hate women, but deep down I know she is conflicted over some of those ideas that were taught to her, and it corrupts her judgment and leads to prejudice and at times self-hatred. The majority of her friends are male, and while she usually says that's just because she gets along with them better in general, she has admitted to be at times that it's because she doesn't usually trust women. Even with female friends she has, she very obviously doesn't open up to them as much. She is also very quick to assume the worst of women in general, whereas she tends to give men the benefit of the doubt, and makes excuses for their behavior, something she basically never does with her women friends. Although she never admits it, I've noticed she doesn't like going to professionals who are women. I've seen her avoid female doctors, driver instructors, and lawyers. Although she has a sexually progressive outlook in theory, and is against marriage for personal reasons, I've frequently caught her slut-shaming other women, and even herself. She's admitted to me before that she feels bad about having a sex life before she met me, even though she knows that doesn't make sense, and I've made it abundantly clear that I don't have even the slightest issue with it and dislike the idea of chastity for my own personal reasons. I had noticed this all before, and addressed it a few times, but it had never become a real issue. I love her deeply, and I know trying to change someone you love is never a good idea, and also I understand that she has lived a life that makes breaking these perceptions incredibly difficult. In addition to the values she was raised with, she was abused by both her mother and sister growing up. However, the other night things came to a head, and we finally got into an actual argument. She was telling me about how one of her guy friends, who is a card-carrying misogynist and serial cheater, broke up with his most recent girlfriend over, shockingly, cheating. She was defending him by saying that while cheating is bad, the women he's with should be smarter and know better. This was an especially glaring double standard since she found out one of her girlfriends was cheating on their boyfriend about a month ago, and they are still barely talking because she found that so morally objectable. During this argument, she openly admitted that she finds women cheating worse than men, which absolutely shocked me. I truly love her deeply, but I just don't know how to feel. It's such a bizarre situation to feel so morally opposed to the views of your significant other. At the end of the day, I truly want what's best for her, and I believe the sexist views she holds aren't just social harmful, but also hurt her, because I've seen how she at times shames herself with them. I'm just not sure what to do. Too long didn't read. My girlfriend is sexist to giant women and it makes me uncomfortable. It sounds like her relationship with her mother affects the way she views women. This transcends simple political explanations. She needs, 1, to believe what she's doing is a problem, and 2, seek out professional counseling to resolve whatever personal issues it's causing her. I don't get the impression that you've made it to step 1. But as a guy, telling her she has internalized misogyny and she doesn't know how to act in her own best interests will probably not work. Actually, she might be willing to listen to Op because he's a guy. I agree that you should encourage her to see a therapist to help her get past these feelings. Being a bigot, even against your own group, is a legitimate deal breaker. Imagine how you would feel if someday you were to have a daughter together and she was to apply these harsh standards to her. I thought about this too. You two can't have children before she resolves this. She needs help, and a lot of it. If she ever has daughters, they're going to be put through hell with this disgusting internalized misogyny she has. I mean, definitely don't have kids with her until she gets therapy and resolves this issue, definitely. Because I can see directly into the parenting nightmare. But maybe compassionate call-ins on the regular could be a start, and just be honest but not mean. For instance, in the recent convo, maybe something along the lines of, I am shocked about the way you feel. Personally, I believe no one deserves to be cheated on, regardless of gender, and to me that makes cheating bad for anyone to do. Maybe when she slut-shames women you could say, it makes me sad you view women in these terms. It's not okay for them or you to be judged so harshly. Have you thought about talking this out with a therapist? Internalized misogyny is hard to deal with. It sounds like she's been hearing all her life how women are worse and this is her coping mechanism. But the thing is, it's not an acceptable coping mechanism because her views can be harmful to other women, especially if she's enabling male chauvinists to continue being jerks. Internalized sexism is common and I feel sad for your girlfriend. Her views of other women are projections of how she limits/criticizes/shames herself as a woman. Your girlfriend needs to heal her relationship with herself before she can develop compassion for other women. If I were you, I would encourage her to seek therapy, with a female therapist. Culture shock around boyfriend's family. I met my 21/F boyfriend, 22/M, mother over New Year because he invited me to celebrate with both of them and it was my first time over their apartment. We only started dating recently. I had such a nice time and really appreciated their hospitality, but the entire time I was low-key dissociating because of the culture shock. I'm not sure if it's entirely culture shock or a lot of it is just lifestyle differences too. For context, his mom grew up in the Soviet Union, she's 30+ years older than us, and they cook homemade Russian food, which was so good. They wouldn't stop feeding me. I was actually raised in Greece myself until I was like 5 years old, but I am so Americanized. We cook ethnic meals sometimes too, but it feels so fake in my family compared to his. Another thing is he lives in an apartment with his mom and I live 20 miles outside the city in some 6,000 square foot house with both my parents and siblings. In his tiny apartment he lives such a minimalistic, modest lifestyle and I could see that him and his mom were just happy loving people. We played board games and it was honestly just so fun. His mom was enthusiastic and just wanted to talk, didn't care about if I wanted to be a doctor or lawyer like my family would be drilling him. My family can't do anything family bonding without 10 minutes into it someone will flip and a verbal altercation will happen. I am so aware most people don't live how I live. The square footage kind of gave it away. At my house everyone just kind of hides in their bedrooms and doesn't talk to anyone unless it's really necessary. We're surrounded by things but my parents are kind of incompetent when it comes to love. No one just does family things together, no one cooks, we all just have our own lives under the big roof. I want to bring him to my parents' house, but I'm worried him seeing what I live like could drive him further away from me. I really was in some kind of culture shock at his place, but it just made me appreciate people more in my life and want to get rid of shit I don't need honestly. Too long didn't read, experienced slight culture shock when I realized how most Americans, my BF, live, especially when they have strong cultural ties to another country, despite having my own, and I'm worried that my super Americanized lifestyle will drive him away from me. Genuinely, don't start romanticizing not having a lot of money. And remember that you were visiting so everyone was on their best behavior. As you get more comfortable with him and his family, you will start to get a better handle on who they are. New Year's in the Soviet Union was, and still is, the biggest celebration of the year. Huge food spreads are key, so I'm glad you got fed. I am 100% sure you will find flaws there if you would stay for long enough. Be ready for that. Living in one flat means that heads butt more often, over smaller things. And in the meantime, tell mom you enjoyed dinner, help her out in some way. The sort of unasked for reciprocation matter a lot in Eastern Europe. Then, tell your guy what to expect when he visits yours. And then stand by him if questions become too much and protect him. Don't hate on Americanization too much. Pick pieces you like from both cultures. A lot of American is great. And just like with USSR, the worst aspects are the same as best ones. The niceness means expected obligations that can be annoying. I wouldn't call this a culture shock. In fact, you would have felt the same in any American household in which people have a very good relationship with their parents and siblings. It's not the norm to always have to argue about something and to avoid interaction with your family. I don't think your family environment will scare your BF away if you explain to him that you don't have a close family. I think this has nothing to do with how rich or not rich you are. Happy New Year. I was thinking the same thing. It sounds less like a culture shock, and more like a healthy family shock. Just explain to him your family isn't very emotionally close to one and another.